time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day, so join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
Talk a lot about sometimes it's not who you play, but when you play them in our sport, because it isn't always the same. We don't always have 5 days to get ready and do our normal Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday routines. You really have to coach on the go.
We're little old South Carolina. Why would they send us to Alabama and to Georgia this week, and they're playing for the national championship today? We're going to go into one building, and they're holding the trophy up at halftime, and the place is going to be bonkers. Seriously, who do we piss off? You know I'm being joking here now.
Here's Tua stepping back, loads up, looks long, throws, end zone, touchdown, Alabama! Devontae Smith, touchdown, Alabama! And the Crimson Tide has once again ascended to the top of the college football mountain.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome in South Carolina Radio Network. It is Sports Talk. The night after the end of the college football season, I think we can all agree on one thing. It was a hell of a way to send off the season. What a finish. What a ball game. And congratulations to Alabama. What is it about color analysts? You know,
jumping on the call like that?
The old-time announcers, like a Bob Fulton or a Jim Phillips. Of course, Eli's an old-time announcer, but he's still, relatively youthful. You jump in on their call, in a moment like that, they would turn around and smack you.
I told somebody the other night who was in the broadcast profession, if I was Eli Gold, I'd have stabbed Phil Savage in the jugular with a pen. And he's like, oh, it wasn't that bad. I'm like, no, it was.
It is.
It was very bad.
I mean, we're going to get off topic here for a moment, but as broadcasters, of course, I'm not a play-by-play guy. You've done play-by-play.
Yeah.
But you cannot that's an epic moment in sports. You cannot interrupt the announcer. Imagine back in when Don Larson's perfect game was being called, the very last pitch of that thing, or the Roger Maris 61 homer, Bobby Thompson's homer. Imagine if, the color guy had jumped in on it. Just shut up.
One of the most famous endings in Super Bowl history, at least the only time that a Super Bowl, at least before last year, had ended on a field goal. The first Patriots Super Bowl in the national radio call, Boomer Esiason jumped Howard David's call.
It's terrible. It's just terrible. And you know what? It just shows the loosening of standards in every area when it comes to journalism and in media today. But that's a story for another night. Tonight we talk about Alabama, the champions again. Are we tired of them? They're not going away. We look ahead to 2018. We talk some recruiting. We get into basketball tonight. USC is playing at Alabama. You heard Frank Martin saying, well, we're going to be in somebody's building celebrating a championship. Unfortunately, from their standpoint, if it were Georgia, there would have been a few days between now and Saturday when they play in Athens. They're coming in to Tuscaloosa tonight, right on the heels of a national championship.
And it's not like they necessarily draw a lot of fans, but they might have some walk-up tonight if they're promising that old vertical football is going to be in the building.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to think that somebody from the football team is going to be there to be representing and show off the trophy and all that kind of stuff. SEC Network tonight, and that will be a 7 o'clock Eastern time tip. Big game for both of these teams. South Carolina coming off a win, a chance to get to 500 in SEC play at 2-2, and Alabama a little bit of a slow start for the Crimson Tide in basketball. I think more was expected of them from what we've seen at this point. So we'll talk more about that coming up here as we go on through this hour of the program. Clemson has a couple of more days to get ready to play North Carolina State in Raleigh. We'll hear from Brad Brownell tonight. A little bit after 7 o'clock, Connor Shaw joins us. He is now the tight ends coach with the Furman Paladins. Great hire by Furman to get, first of all, an excellent football mind. There's no question about that. And then number two, somebody who brings a ton of notoriety to your coaching staff.
Very much so. I mean, you want to talk about outside of Clowney or Lattimore, probably the most recognizable South Carolina former Gamecock, at least, who's not playing on an NFL roster right now. That guy obviously brings a lot of cachet to your program. He's never coached before. He has coaching in his blood, though, with his dad and also his brother. So from that perspective, he gets to kind of take into the family profession. But it could be a springboard for something for the future for him, and he gets to come back and do it in the Palmetto State. It's a no-brainer for Clay Hendricks.
I'm just really sorry that his pro career just never could get going because of injuries.
Right.
Every time he got a chance, he got hurt. He was just one of those jinxed players in the NFL that could not stay healthy long enough to get a true shot on an NFL team. So we got all that and more coming your way tonight. 800-956-7266, the phone number. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter @SportsTalkSC. Let's go ahead and jump to your phone calls. Want to get your reaction to last night. Start looking ahead to 2018. The odds are out by Bovada on the 2019 championship game. It would be for the 2018 championship. Alabama 11-4. Clemson is 6-1. And Georgia and Ohio State are 15-2. And if you want to take a bit of a flyer for a few dollars, USC is 150-1.
Send my bet in right now.
Wake Forest is only 100-1. They like Wake Forest odds better than USC's odds at this point.
They don't know what the hell they're talking about.
I think I would put $1 on USC and just hope for the best. To James in Rock Hill, is that correct? James, good evening, sir. You are batting leadoff tonight.
How are we doing tonight, guys?
Good.
Good. I just want to say something about last night, and then I'll listen to y'all off there. Love your show. I'm actually a carrier driver for a living, so I'm in the car all the time, and I got the Sirius XM, and I was flipping back and forth between Qualkenbush and Clemson, and then I don't even know who it was.
Don't pollute your ears like that, man.
Yeah.
Careful.
And then it was the guy from Alabama. It wasn't Eli, and it wasn't
Paul?
the Savage. It was just some
Paul Feinbaum?
No, it was just no, God no. It was just some rando station in Birmingham, and the biggest point that I took out of it is that they just want to throw Jalen Hurts out into the street now. They just think that this new kid is the second coming of God, and there's no doubt he had a terrific half of football. He had one half of football, and it was against a team that had no tape on him, had really no idea that he was going to play, and really couldn't prepare for him. Now, could they have done better? Georgia could have done better, yeah, but I just feel like everybody's blowing up that this kid is the next it when, he played 30 minutes of football. He did make some mistakes, but to throw Jalen Hurts a 20, I think he was 25-2 as a starter last night, and technically he started last night. So 26-2 as a starter with two national championships. I just don't understand why everybody is giving him such a tough time, especially in Alabama. And I'm interested to see what y'all say about that. Love your show, and I'll take it off the air.
That would be 0 national championships.
He doesn't have any. Yeah.
Look, gutsy call by Saban.
I loved it.
Gutsy call. Well, I mean, look, Hurts was he wasn't getting it done. He was 3 of 8 for 21 yards. He did have 47 rushing yards with that long of 31. But he wasn't getting his team in the end zone, and they were being stymied there offensively. I thought at that particular point in time, going into halftime, that Georgia, the defense had him figured out and had Alabama's offense really stifled. So that's why Saban's won so many championships. He just knew it was time to unleash the young fellow, and say what you will, he looked great, except for the first interception. He looked great running the ball. He has got an arm and poise. And, I mean, come on. How many freshmen can throw that ball in overtime and put it on the money to such an open receiver like that?
Saban, if he would have had cojones, he would have made the move after the Auburn game with the month to prepare. But he had some cojones last night to make that move. And more we're hearing of the evaluators who saw him not only play in high school, but also before that. This guy's had a lot of talent for a long time. We've known for a while that Jalen is limited and Tua has more upside.
Okay, we'll be right back.
More of your calls are coming up on Sports Talk. Hit us up at 800-956-7266.
We are back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic.
I don't believe for a second, by the way, that Jalen Hurts is going to play another snap at the University of Alabama.
Well, there's already a story out that Jacob Eason's going to transfer to Washington.
Yeah.
Out of Georgia.
Sounds right.
Look, this is don't think for a moment if Jake Bentley or Kelly Bryant struggle next year. The young hotshots waiting in the wing. Both USC and Clemson have got the highly touted freshman enrolled in January, ready to step in if anybody has a hiccup.
Is it weird that that was literally the first thing I thought of after seeing him throw that touchdown pass was, man, what if this is the predicament that Clemson finds themselves in next year with Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah.
Or South Carolina does with Kerryon Joyner. I think Clemson probably has more to worry about there just because I think Trevor Lawrence has a greater upside. I think Kerryon Joyner, you and I have both kind of discussed how he is more of a project for South Carolina as we try to kind of bring that national situation back here local to us. But the other part of this too is something that I saw from our friends at TigerNet. Nikki Hood had a sit down with Brandon Streeter, and he basically outlined the fact that the best quarterback out of camp, whether it's spring or fall, is going to play.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't just talk about Kelly Bryant. That doesn't just talk about Trevor Lawrence. That includes Zarek Cooper. That includes Hunter Johnson. And you've got 4 options that, to be brutally,
forget Chase Bryce.
And Chase Bryce as well. So, I mean,
and you're forgetting Tucker Israel.
You've got a lot of options if you're Clemson, is what I'm trying to say. These are options that any coach in the country, save for maybe Nick Saban, would want to have. And that's not a bad thing if you're Clemson. Now, it is a bad thing if the guy you choose underperforms the expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that you could choose wrong, but I mean, I think Dabo Swinney should be very careful to not completely anoint Kelly Bryant, just based on the fact that he's a senior. It really has to be, like we saw last year, a competition, and it has to be something that the guy coming out has to win it. It can't be given by default.
Well, people are going to look at last night and see a freshman with superior talent get his chance and do something huge. And they're going to think their guy can do the same thing. Now, in the case of Trevor Lawrence, you cannot hype a guy coming out of high school more than this guy's been hyped.
No.
And, he's been hyped more than Deshaun Watson. And when Watson committed to Clemson as a junior, a great player and set all these records in Georgia, and, great upside. His hype has not matched the hype around this kid. So the one thing is, it's going to be hard for him to meet those expectations. People are going to expect him to come in, complete every pass, throw a touchdown, every other pass, throw no interceptions, run the offense like he's a 10-year veteran. It may or may not happen. It may have to be in a special moment where he steps in and gets it done. I don't know that from the outset he's going to go in there and just waltz in and win the job over guys who've been in the program for a couple of years.
And I don't want to going kind of back to what James was talking about on our previous caller. We had known that Hurts was limited, at least from the limited sample that we have of his collegiate career. We knew that he was limited as a passer. Yes, he didn't make mistakes. I think he only had 1 pick during the regular season. So in that vein, he did basically the bare minimum in not turning the football over, despite the fact that he wasn't getting the football in the end zone yesterday. But we knew he was limited as a passer, and we'd seen glimpses of Tua in the regular season. I think he threw for more than 300 yards in their spring game. So it's not like we hadn't seen glimpses of the young man's talent. Now, whether or not that translates into the future of Alabama football remains to be seen, but he's got a scholarship too.
Yes, he does. 800-956-7266. Couple of quick notes. We'll get back to your telephone calls. Of course, the end of the season means the final polls are out. The final AP and coaches rankings are out for this year. And once again, Clemson finished well up in the rankings. Tigers were number 4, I believe, in both polls. Let's
Correct.
see. Of course,
yes.
Alabama is number 1 in each. Georgia's number 2, Oklahoma's 3, and Clemson's 4. Ohio State's 5. So the polls agree there. The AP has UCF, Wisconsin, Penn State, and TCU and Auburn. In that order, the coaches have Wisconsin 6, UCF 7, Penn State 8, TCU 9, and Southern Cal at number 10. And you look on down the list, we'll look at the AP ranking, and Miami is at number 13. LSU is at 18. Mississippi State is 19. NC State is 23. Virginia Tech is 24.
Why did NC State continue to get so much love? I mean, they lost to Clemson. They lost to USC. I mean, NC State got more unrequited love from the polls. And again, this is why, like, I know we pay attention to these things.
USC, by the way, USC in the AP poll received enough votes to be 27th.
And they were 28th in the coaches. I know we have to pay attention to these polls, but when you got people who are rating Clemson in the AP as low as 8th, like that has me almost want to stop following these polls.
Well, I mean, you really don't have to because you have the playoff.
Right.
And the only poll that matters is the one that comes out of that committee. Right. All right, back to the phones we go, and it is Steve in Charleston up next. Steve, welcome in. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
Good. Thank you for waiting.
Yeah, no problem. So I'll preface this by saying that even me being a person who has an aversion to the SEC, I was thoroughly impressed by the game last night. Very, very interesting game. I told myself I probably wasn't going to watch it because being a Clemson fan, I was a little disappointed. It wasn't mostly sour grapes, just kind of the interconference matchup just didn't seem that enticing. But obviously, the game ended up being great. I thought it was a little bit of, I wouldn't say a choke. I wouldn't go as far as that because at the end of the day, it's Alabama, so they should be favored basically every game. But Georgia definitely kind of gave one away there, and it was just a little disappointing to see that because I was really, really hoping that we'd see somebody different win a championship there. But yeah, so and I thought it was a little bit. I couldn't believe Alabama's luck when you're already the best team, but then you get the luck of I think multiple people on Twitter were saying that the touchdown pass he threw that was the tying touchdown pass at the end of the game wasn't even intended for the guy that he threw it for. And I was just kind of like,
and it was a false start too, but
it goes without saying, but they were good, anyway. So, but I guess I was going to say that I was really impressed, like you said. I was kind of wondering why they pulled Hurts, but then obviously Saban proved his genius there. And just a side note, I actually was hot take here, which thought that they should do the same thing in the Clemson game. It's not that I discounted Kelly Bryant because he's been great, but I just thought that whenever they gave away their red zone opportunity and they only had 6, I just thought they should shake something up and at least try to throw Hunter Johnson out there. But obviously it didn't happen. But just the question I have for y'all, and I'll hang up and listen, is obviously I know you're going to touch on the Alabama fatigue, but I'm really getting to the point, even, aside from being a Clemson fan, that I just think it's bad for college football that Alabama just keeps winning. I just feel like if you're not an Alabama fan or you're not an SEC fan, because you know how they like the roots of the conference, I don't see how it's interesting to people who are not SEC or Alabama fans to really keep watching it when it's 5 out of 9 years, So, but yeah, I'll hang up and let y'all talk about it.
That's a good question. Do people like dynasties? You go back and you think of some of the NFL and NBA and college basketball dynasties, baseball dynasties. I mean, don't you think people always – Yankee fans, of course, loved it, but don't you think people loved rooting against the Yankees?
Yes.
Or UCLA when they were winning all those basketball championships? Don't you think people loved rooting against UCLA because they were winning it every year and they were just knocking off all comers?
I'll go to the NBA for an example. People will say all the time that they hate the fact that it's Cavaliers, Warriors every year, and yet every year that they play, they seem to set a new ratings record. I think this was the second most watched championship since the college football playoff format started. I think at the end of the day, people just want to see good football. And I know that there's fatigue and then there's this kind of elitism when it comes to the SEC and the fact that some schools get preferential treatment over others. Listen, at the end of the day, this is entertainment. And it's not supposed to be fair. We want to see good football. We saw that last night.
28,443,000 viewers. ESPN reports up 13% from last year's game.
There's a very easy way to fix elitism. Win. Damn it.
We'll be right back. Hey, anybody seen Bulldog Burt today? I'm a little concerned about his welfare.
I know multiple Georgia Bulldog fans, including one that may or may not have used to work on the other side of the glass from us, who did not report to work today.
Tough time for him.
Can you imagine being a Falcon fan and a Georgia Bulldog fan and having those two finishes happen in the last 11 months?
Yeah. But at least the Falcons, you turn the page with the Falcons. I mean, now they've got a chance moving forward still to make up for that.
It still hurts.
Yeah.
It still hurts. And it happens at two of the biggest coaches.
The person you're referring to, it couldn't happen to a better person if you ask me.
Oh, wow.
The pain. And I would like to have been there last night just to see the expression on his little face when that pass dropped into the hands of that. What was Georgia think? Were they in zone coverage? Did the corner expect the safety to come over?
They were in cover 2, and the corner did not. He basically shaded too much toward the hash.
The corner let him go.
I'm saying that, but he thought he had safety help. And
right,
the safety was too far toward the hash. I was watching the coach's film last night, by the way, which was like football porn. It was fantastic. I loved it. And so, like, they kept on saying the safety shaded too far toward the hash. The corner is supposed to let him go because he had safety help, and the safety was too late getting over.
And the quarterback's eyes took the safety off the receiver. He moved the safety a little bit to what would be the safety's left and away from the receiver, and opened it up, and it was wide open, freshman to freshman. How about the Ridley kid for Georgia? For a brief time, he was a USC commitment for about a day when he was coming out of high school, and ended up going on to Georgia, and he's going to have an outstanding career. Yeah, Georgia, no doubt, will be right in the hunt next year. In fact, of course, what happens the day after, you got all the projections for the top 25 for next year. Let's see who we think will be there and who won't be. This is from CBSSports.com. So you got Alabama 1, Clemson 2, Georgia 3, Ohio State 4, Michigan State 5, Penn State 6, Wisconsin 7, Oklahoma 8, Miami 9, Notre Dame 10. Then they have Virginia Tech, Stanford, Southern Cal, Michigan, and Auburn. Why they've got I saw nothing from Michigan to lead me to believe they're going to be a top 15 team next year.
It's all the names.
Florida State, Washington, LSU, Boise, Central Florida, Purdue. They've got USC at 22.
Again, I don't like the rampant ranking of these teams because, again, it's based off of nothing. It's based off of
something to talk about.
No, it's
based
about talk. But it's based off of hope, and it's based off of reputations that were built 20 years ago.
Oklahoma State, Texas A&M, and Iowa State complete.
Michigan is working off the rep that they had when Jim Harbaugh was quarterbacking them, not coaching them. Michigan was trash.
Who give me one outside of the top 4, because it's the same 4 we've been hearing about for the most part, except they dropped Oklahoma down to 8. Out of those 5, give me one who can crash the party.
Outside of the 5 from the top?
No, the 5 that we've been dealing with the last few years: Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma, and now Georgia joined the mix this year.
So outside of those top 5?
Outside of those 5, who's going to crash the party? Who's got the best chance of crashing the party?
Is it bad just because of the upward movement and what they've got coming in recruiting-wise? I have to say the Miami Hurricanes. That'd be my pick.
Don't like their quarterback. I would say Florida State. I'll tell you why. DeAndre Francois, when healthy, lights out.
I understand that.
Got to have a great running back. The new offense that Willie Taggart will bring in there is going to re-energize them offensively. You know that they still have tons of talent. I don't know much about some of the new coaches he's bringing in. They get Clemson at home in 2018.
Here's the problem with Florida State, and I know that the quarterback leaving or the quarterback getting hurt in the opening game really kind of derailed all their hopes for what they wanted. But they didn't lose 6 games as a result of that quarterback. There were other systemic failures that took place in that.
Don't know about. They had nothing ready. They had nothing but a true freshman ready to go in behind him.
The true freshman just went in and won the national championship. Corn. That's a load of crap.
Not all true freshmen are created equally.
Not saying that. I'm not saying that.
You're going to say Blackman is as good as Tua?
I'm not saying that, but you could create or cater the offense around what he can do with his skill set. That's poor coaching.
Well, I mean, you're just not ready. He just wasn't.
That's poor coaching.
I mean, how many snaps did the kid get in camp with the first team offense? My guess is very few. They were riding on Francois. He goes down in the
We're riding on Jalen Hurts
against Alabama.
Again, I'm not.
They just weren't ready.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's poor coaching. And the fact of the matter is, I'm not saying that Willie Taggart is going to come in and not try to pick up where he left off, but I mean, he's walking into a mess. I think that is at least a year away from any kind of completion.
Okay, we shall see. 800-956-7266. A few other notes of interest. The Panthers today surprisingly made a couple of moves, huh?
Not surprising.
Well, Mick didn't hint at that last night.
He didn't, but
they fired Shula as the offensive coordinator, and they fired the quarterbacks coach.
Anybody who watched them play offense this year knew that they were struggling to try and find an offensive identity. The fact that they said going into the year that they wanted to diversify their offense and do it around not having Cam Newton run all the time, and yet Cam Newton is still the leading rusher at 754 yards rushing, which is not a very high number, but still too high for a guy like him. I mean, to me, they couldn't figure out what they wanted to be offensively at times, and you know, Cam had a season that was really, honestly, forgettable. A lot of the wins that they got were by his doing, but other times he was very forgettable.
Well, they were 25th in offense in 2016, 17th this year. So they did improve from that standpoint, but they're making a change. So we'll see what happens. Louis Lineberger, one of the all-time great coaches in our state from Johnsonville, also at Hartsville, announcing his retirement after 41 years, 253 wins.
It's a good run.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good run.
Inducted into the Coaches Hall of Fame in December. Running that triple option pretty much everywhere he's been. We wish him well. Good guy. Let's see here. What else do I want to mention? Oh, at the coaches convention in Charlotte, the ACC proposed for everyone, for all schools, to allow players to play in any 4 games and then still count for a red shirt. This is something that coaches have been pushing.
I love that.
Would be effective next year, not retroactive.
I love that.
Because
it allows for guys who get hurt to basically get an easy medical red shirt. And it also allows you late in the season to help replenish your depth chart in cases like you had, say, with USC. USC had situations where maybe they had guys who they could possibly add into where they had backer, obviously, with Bryce Now Williams going down. They had issues at wide receiver with guys in depth. They had issues at running back. Again, hypothetically, you could have guys who are basically waiting in the wings in your stable who can be late season insurance for guys who go down and hurt.
I think the negative or the reason this thing has never been enacted is they didn't want coaches to use players in tryouts in games. And then, you know, when they hit that limit, in this case, 4 games, decide to redshirt them because they weren't ready based on what they had seen in games. I think that's maybe one of the cautionary schools of thought with that. And the other thing, of course, was dealing with injuries. You know, the rule now is if you're playing and you get hurt in the first quarter of your season, I think it's 4 games.
Right. Same
you
thing.
can still be redshirted. Otherwise, if it's after that and you get hurt, then you cannot be redshirted. You lose that year. I think they were just trying to prevent coaches from hiding injuries or keeping players who were hurt and weren't able to play in the first part of the season, not saving them for the latter part of the season. I mean, does that make sense? Well, no, there was a rationale behind that to kind of keep coaches from using players maybe in an inappropriate way towards their.
Again, I think what this rule does is it allows you to, again, like you said, keep your roster replenished later on in the season. I think it has more to do with being able to use that later in the season, especially if a guy goes down, say, in the spring or the fall. It allows you to kind of have a second wind.
All right, 800-956-7266. We'll have some recruiting for you. Also, Brad Brownell coming up, talking some Clemson basketball.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
USC Alabama basketball tipping off at the top of the hour. Evan Henson will be in the starting lineup again for USC. Hassani Gravett is dressed and able to play tonight. He's not starting. Wesley Myers will start once again. Same lineup other night against Vanderbilt.
I like Evan Henson. I don't think he necessarily knows what he's doing all the time, but the one thing he does bring that I think the Gamecocks have been lacking, at least up until the last contest they played against Vandy, is energy and tenacity. And I think that kind of play is infectious. And I think you saw the other players on the Gamecocks Saturday really kind of take to that. You saw Frank Booker taking charges, and the fact that his insertion in the lineup helped both players. While it didn't necessarily help Booker's offensive game, he made contributions outside of scoring, away from the basket, in the box score, and helped the Gamecocks really gain back some of their mojo. I think that's something that had been lacking. And the other part of this too is that this is early on in the conference season. Not to say that the Gamecocks are primed for a run here, but if you want to turn around your season and have a positive step forward, any wins early on in this conference season are big. I mean, this is a critical 2-game stretch against two teams that were picked higher than the Gamecocks. I mean, that's the other part of this too, is that you want to kind of show the rest of the conference that, we're not the 11th best team in this conference like people thought we were. You have something that's kind of left to prove, and I think Frank has these guys playing with a little bit of the chip on their shoulder. Well,
they better play with some better shooting eyes, because their shooting has been pretty bad all season long, and they're relying heavily on their defense now and their rebounding, and that will carry you to a certain degree, but you got to make shots at some point in time. This Alabama team shoots it pretty well, 46% as a team, but they're struggling a little bit. They've lost their last 2 games, 3 of their last 4. They're coming off a loss at Georgia. They lost that game by 19. Prior to that, they lost at Vanderbilt by a point. So they've been on the road for a couple of games in the league. In fact, this is their they beat Texas A&M at home in their league opener. So they're 1-2 in the league, and dangerous game for South Carolina. Be a lot of emotion in the air in Alabama because of the national championship, and this team returning home after being gone for a little while will be anxious to put on a good show.
Sensational freshman Colin Sexton. He is a load, somebody that Frank Martin believes can be a problem. This is kind of I don't know if he's necessarily a one-and-done type player because he's playing where he is, but he certainly is garnering a lot of attention at the next level, and they'll have to keep 1, if not 2, bodies on him.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, defense has been South Carolina's strength to this point. I see no reason why they won't play good defense tonight. As Pro likes to say, defense travels with you when you go on the road. So who else is at University of Alabama is Tevin Mack, the Colombian native who transferred from University of Texas, was a kid that South Carolina, after not recruiting very heavily, got involved with in the relative latter stages of his recruiting. But he was already at first, it looked like he was going to go to VCU, and then when Shaka Smart went to Texas, he went with Shaka out there. And this is his transfer sit-out season, so he will not play tonight against the Gamecocks.
Two friends on the broadcast tonight too in that game, Tommy Hart and John Summerall.
They're not friends of mine.
Friends of mine, though.
Well, that doesn't matter. They're not friends of mine. You said they're 2 friends. You spoke in general terms for the Sports Talk.
I would say
they're not friends of Sports Talk.
Tom Hart's a friend of in the program.
I don't know. Has he been on our show before?
He hasn't, only because ESPN won't let him, because ESPN is a bit of a tyrant.
Then he's not a friend.
Not by any fault of his own. He said he wanted to come on.
If he were a friend, he would have come on the show. To recruiting now, which is a friend of everybody's.
Not mine.
6'7" Christian Brown of Lower Richland. This is basketball. Highly regarded nationally, 2019 class. Right now, looking at things more nationally than locally. Offers include USC, Clemson, Kansas, UNLV, Oklahoma State, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Tennessee, Florida State, LSU, Auburn, Wake Forest, and UConn. Went to Georgia last Saturday, unofficial, said it was great. Met up with his AAU teammate, Ashton Hagans, who is a Georgia commit. He's also been to UNLV. He plans to visit Clemson Saturday for the Miami game. He plans to visit Georgia Tech January 28th. He wants to make his decision well before the November signing period. In the spring, he would like to do it then. He wants to take some official visits here coming up as soon as he can and go from there. He plans to visit UNLV during spring break. That's the only official. And he wants to visit Florida State soon as well. Hearing the most from Georgia, Georgia Tech, UNLV, Florida State, Virginia Tech, UMass, and Florida. Those schools have his attention. Clemson just reached out to him on Monday regarding a visit this Saturday. He hopes the Tigers pick up the effort, and he is really not hearing that much at all from South Carolina at this particular point. The Gamecocks are not making much of an effort with him at this time. He's averaging 23 points per game this season. Now to football. Indiana offered running back Michael Dukes of First Baptist. He also holds offers from USC, North Carolina, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, Old Dominion, and Georgia State. USC offered a few players in Tennessee today. Defensive back Woody Washington of Murfreesboro. He's also got Alabama, Florida, Georgia Tech, Indiana, Kentucky, North Carolina offers. Defensive back Adonis Otey of Murfreesboro. Arkansas also offered him today. He also has Alabama. He's a former Tennessee commit. Athlete Cameron Wynn of Chattanooga, another former Tennessee commit. Some other offers are Virginia Tech, Ole Miss, FAU, and Vanderbilt. Tight end Luke Deal of Emerald has offers from Georgia and NC State at this point. He said Clemson also is showing a lot of interest, but he has not yet been offered by the Tigers. He has not heard from USC. USC offered 2020 receiver Darren Turner of Memphis, according to Rivals. He also has a Clemson offer. There you go with recruiting. We invite you to check it out regularly on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and on Twitter, use the hashtag STRecruiting. You got something? Oh, by the way, I want to mention this. Today, USC early signees started to move in to campus to begin the January semester, the winter semester for them. Mm-hmm. And this created quite a bit of conversation on our Twitter timeline, but Xavier Thomas tweeted out today that his father has gotten out of prison in West Virginia. Really? And he was sending a shout out to him. He enrolled at Clemson yesterday.
Interesting.
And so the dad's out of prison, so that's a good thing for the family, and he can come up and watch his son now play his football games at Clemson.
Why was that causing consternation?
You'd have to ask the people who were consternated.
I mean, they're trying to think that there's
or constipated. They maybe were constipated and consternated.
They're trying to think that there's some sort of correlation involved there.
You know what? I just report the facts. And the facts are he arrived at Clemson, started school yesterday, moved in, and dad got out of prison today. Those are the facts.
Far be it for me to kind of give the benefit of the doubt here, but that is a very strong leap you have to take there to at least draw a corollary between those two events. Him enrolling at Clemson and his father getting out of prison. Strong leap, in my mind. Very cynical leap, too, in that regard.
So what's your point?
My point is it's much ado about nothing, and if there was such consternation about it, I think those people are sniffing around a corner where they need not be sniffing.
Okay. Well, you go on our timeline, you tell them that.
I believe I did. I said, this is ridiculous.
All right, coming up top of the hour, we'll have with us the new tight ends. Does Connor Shaw know anything about how to play tight end?
I was going to ask about that.
He was a receiver in high school when his brother J-Bo, his brother J-Bo Shaw.
Yes.
You know where he went? J-Bo went to Georgia Tech, then transferred to Georgia Southern.
Right.
And when he was the quarterback at Flowery Branch High School across the street from the Falcons practice facility, Connor was a receiver.
Well, it's kind of like a quarterback guru coaching running backs. Oh, wait. Wow.
It works.
Did I say that? Did I say that out loud?
I think you did. We'll hear from Connor Shaw coming up after the top of the hour break. Keep you up to date on USC and Bama as well, and we'll be back. Oh, come on now. Don't give me a hard time here. Okay, so we're going to play hard to connect tonight. Huh? I don't know why you're doing that to me. Where's the pin? 4680. We put that thing up in the corner. You can't hardly. Oh, motherfuck. Come on, you douchebag. I should do it. There we go. I don't like the SEC network unless Mike Morgan's on the call. He's best. He's the best. Just ask him. Avery Johnson. His voice. Or did you help anybody in Tuscaloosa to help?
So they're going to apparently what they do is they send the SID a video of the visiting press conference, and he's going to copy me to that. So I'll have to pull the sound off the video.
Yeah.
He says if I don't hear from him more than an hour after the game, to email him to make sure that he sends it.
Great. So that's all you can ask.
Hopefully that's
not exactly the packed house we thought.
I'm telling you, people don't care about it.
Of course, I bet you a lot of them are still trying to get back from Atlanta.
I bet you a lot of them are still drunk. But you can't give away tickets to that. Oh, Jesus. Oh, you got to get bailed out.
We told him 7:05, so. Damn, Baylor's up early on West Virginia.
You're a little harsh to John Mark. A little harsh.
Oh, negatory. What, you mean my tweet at him?
Yeah. A little harsh. You have a file photo on Connor Shaw? I'm guessing you do.
Yeah, well, yeah. We got plenty of Connor Shaw. Okay.
No, not Jalen Shaw. I want Connor Shaw.
If he hasn't called, you got the number in front of you? I guess that number still works. I don't know if that's a working number or not. I mean, where'd you get that number?
From our list.
Our sheet. Let's see if the number's changed. Yeah, why don't you give him a call? 610-1761. That's what we've got. Call him on a line other than the 15 line so the two don't collide.
Round 2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
We are back with you, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a Tuesday night from downtown Columbia. Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, Professor Tom Hayes has the night off. 2-2 USC and Alabama underway in Tuscaloosa. USC's points scored by Myers, so he's got the one basket. Actually, it was a couple of free throws that he had for South Carolina. So relatively slow offensive start for these two teams. Probably okay with USC. They probably prefer a low-scoring type of game and a defensive-oriented ball game. All right, let's welcome into Sports Talk now for the first time as a former player. It kind of sounds weird to say. Coach Connor Shaw. Good evening, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, it does have a weird ring to it, especially being the third Coach Shaw in the family.
Yeah.
But I'll get used to it.
you can go to your house and say, just, hey, coach, and you, your dad, your brother, you can all turn and look at everybody, right?
That's right.
Well, congratulations. To me, this is sort of a mixed bag here, because I got to believe deep down inside you still want to be a player in the NFL. And when did you kind of reach the point here in the last few months that you had to go another direction?
You're right to an extent. I think as a player, especially if as competitive as I was raised and just the way that I played the game, it's hard to walk away. But I think as a player, you know when you know. And, this last injury, it's been my third consecutive year placed on IR, and that takes a toll on your body and mentally as well. And I think, I was training and rehabbing a bit at Furman, built some relationships there. I didn't know that this thing would come full circle like this, but it's an honor to join the staff, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. Connor, I'm going to ask you the elephant in the room. What do you know about coaching tight ends?
Well, I know a good bit from a quarterback perspective, and it's actually pretty good timing from this past offseason. We did a lot in Chicago is installing and implementing new things from the tight end position. Of course, the quarterback's in the room with the offensive coordinator and the tight ends coach. So there are some coaching points that I'll be able to bring to the table, but there's a lot for me to learn, and it'll be a great learning opportunity for me. Coach Quarles and Coach Hendricks have, made it clear that this staff will gel together and do what we can to win football games.
So do you have to, or have you already sent papers into the NFL, the old retirement papers thing? Do you have to do that, or is that something you're going to hold off on for a little while?
I think it's something that needs to be addressed. My agent will take care of it, and we'll just kind of move on from there. I think for me, it's on to the next. And 4 years in the NFL was a dream of mine, and it flew by. But it's something that I'm proud of, and I'll have good memories of doing. And but now it's time to for the next chapter in life.
So you're saying that somebody picks up the phone and says, "Hey, we need someone to either run scout team."
They already have. We sat down as a family, and we knew that there would be a possibility of this offseason when they reconstruct the 90-man roster. And there was a call. We'll just leave it at that. And we made a decision to move on and understand how special of a place Furman is, and to take advantage of that.
It wasn't the Jets, was it? Just tell me that.
It was not the Jets. It was on the West Coast.
Okay.
Hey, but don't you think you, if healthy and given a shot, could have won a game with the Browns?
I mean, yeah, I believe so. Personally, I do. I mean, you can't get any worse than 0-16. But no, I think, like I said, as competitive as I am, and I think I can still play at a high level. But it's time for me to move on to a different perspective on it.
So I know you have a graduating tight end at Furman and Andy Shumpert. You have a freshman, a rising sophomore, and Jake Walker. What do you know about the group you'll be working with? And tell us more about what you're looking for out of that group.
Well, I'll know a lot more on this Thursday when we hold our team meeting, and I'll be able to get to know the guys a little bit more. But there's a standard that we'll bring to the room, and there's a standard for the play at Furman. And I'll get into detail with my room and the specifics, but I'm excited about it. It's a good group of guys, and we'll learn from each other, and we'll do the best that we can to win football games.
So do you have a plan in mind for your coaching career? I mean, this is step one. You're getting into a great program with a terrific head coach and a lot of great tradition, and they're winning once again. But, I mean, are you looking at, okay, do this for however many years, and I'll maybe want to become a quarterback's coach, an offensive coordinator, then a head coach at some level?
No, I don't think you can really look at it that way. Whatever happens in the future happens, but I think in order to do the best that you can, you have to be all in, invested day by day, and just kind of look at it from that scope. And if you do things the right way, then there will be other opportunities down the road. But for now, I'm all in to being a Paladin, and as far as I can see in the future, it's here at Furman.
What can you bring, or at least take from either if it was a coach that you had, or whether it was your dad or your brother? What kind of bits and pieces do you take from them, from their coaching of you, that you could bring to the table as a coach yourself?
Oh, goodness. I could take bits and pieces from all the coaches that I've had. I've been very fortunate to be around not only good coaches, but just great men. And there's a lot of lessons that I've learned playing that position from Coach Spurrier that translates into life in general, and my father. And having 3 different head coaches and 4 different offense coordinators the past 4 years have helped tremendously. There's just a broad knowledge of the game, and that I'll take from each and every one of them.
Will they? I know you'll be coaching tight ends, but I mean, do you expect them to ever come over to you to say, "Hey, what do you see in this quarterback?" Or especially with your skills that you had in running the option and things of that nature, do you think you'll be tapped into a little bit along those lines?
We'll see. We're all on the same team, right? So I'm sure that if there's any kind of insight that they want, it'll be welcomed from me. I'll do the best I can to be a tight end coach, and if I'm asked to pitch in or give a little bit of here and there to a quarterback or another position, of course, I'll be all in to do that.
You mentioned the connection that you had with Furman while rehabbing. What else impressed you about this team, this staff, and this college that you're stepping into?
Well, just a unique background. A lot of them are young and former players who get it, been there, and just a lot of football experience, whether as a player and coaching. Coach Quarles was a very highly successful head coach in Tennessee, and Coach Hendricks being in the Air Force for a long time. A lot of different guys that played at Furman together. Actually, Coach Hendricks and Coach Quarles played together. It's just more than anything, the staff vibes well, and that compensates for a lot of other things. You can be the best schemers in the world, but if the staff doesn't gel right, there'll be a ceiling, and that's the same thing that could be said for your roster. You can have all the talent in the world, but if there's no chemistry in the locker room, you're only going to go so far. And the greatest thing I can tell from day one of being a Paladin is the staff gets along incredibly.
What do you think of your alma mater?
Yeah, what a season they had. I'm so proud of what Coach Muschamp has done this year, and the guys that have bought in. They're just playing at a different level the past couple of years, and I think they're moving in the right direction. Of course, I'll always be pulling for them, and I think good things in store for South Carolina.
Just do me a favor, Connor. While you're at Furman, don't schedule Missouri, because you always seem to put your best games against Missouri. And
well, you know what? I can't suit up, so I think it'll be okay.
Just your presence alone can only hurt them.
Hey, one thing I noticed, if my memory, you threw 1 interception your last year, right?
I sure did.
Yeah, just 1. You got 2 kids. You got more kids than you had interceptions as a senior. I just wanted to congratulations on the young man.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, Decker's a handful, and they make it so much fun. It makes everything worthwhile.
Well, you're at a wonderful place, a great place to live, as you know, and there's really, you'll figure this out. There's no more beautiful spot to watch a football game on a fall afternoon than Paladin Stadium with Paris Mountain in the background.
Yes, sir. I had a cool opportunity to go to a game this past season after I spoke in one of their chapel services, and it is a great game day atmosphere. And like you said, looking over, we're seeing across from Paris Mountain. This is a special place to be.
We thank you. Congratulations, and we'll be in touch. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Connor Shaw, Furman tight ends coach.
Don't schedule Missouri.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
I'm glad he took the Missouri comment in stride.
Thanks to Connor Shaw for joining us here tonight on Sports Talk. For those of you who are now turning over to us because the basketball game is over,
It's bad.
We'll have that interview for you up on our website, SportsTalkSC.com.
I tell you what, that performance he had in 2013 was one of the greatest individual performances I've ever seen.
Yeah, he was a fantastic quarterback. His career went so quickly because he didn't redshirt.
Right.
Came in and played 4 fast years, but he was tremendous. All right. Alabama's on a 12-0 run, a 16-3 run. They're up 21-8.
Oof.
They are shooting 88%.
All while Colin Sexton has 2 fouls.
7 of 8 from the floor. Yeah, I would like to be able to complete maybe 2 sentences before you say something. Can I maybe get back-to-back sentences out?
No.
Before you insert a comment?
It's fine.
Good God.
You're all right.
The Gamecocks are 2 of 11 from the floor. The baskets have been made by Minaya, who's got 3 points, and Myers, who has 5. They also have a who else has scored? That's it. That's 8 points. Yeah. Duh. 5
Really?
and 3 makes 8. Now, see, that's when you should have jumped in to say something.
Now I'm allowed to. Now I'm allowed to jump. I see how it is.
Anyway, it's a horrible start. A horrible start.
Horrible, no good,
Gamecocks.
really bad day for them.
Not good. 21-8. Alabama is leading. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Clemson playing at NC State Thursday night. We'll be there for that. Looking forward to it. 9 o'clock. Love that arena. Love PNC Arena in Raleigh. Chance for Clemson to score a big ACC road win. Those are obviously hard to come by. They've got one already up at Boston. Let's see if they can get another one in Raleigh. And Brad Brownell, pretty happy with the way things are going, you would say?
He's happy. I think that I don't even want to call it cautious. I think that he wants to make sure that everyone kind of stays grounded and level-headed. I think that it's very, very easy to be aroused by the start that they had, 10 wins in a row and riding high, and you're judged on how you face adversity, and they're going to face adversity, no doubt, going into NC State, a program that just beat Duke in its last contest. And one thing that Brad Brownell knows, they have to play better on the road to score a victory than they did in their first matchup against them at home.
Just played unbelievable in the game. Had a bunch of guys make shots. Torn Dorn made some huge threes late. I thought Beverly and Alaric Freeman were good throughout. And then they have great size inside with Yurtseven and Leonard Freeman and Abu. Those guys are big and strong enough to rebound and finish around the basket, keep people away. So it's going to be a great atmosphere in there Thursday at 9, and it should be a very good game. Looking forward to playing it.
Coach, NC State's a team that likes to press. How much of a luxury is it to have so many guys that can handle the ball so effectively when you play teams like that?
Yeah, it helps. I think a lot of press offenses, players, making plays, to be honest with you. I think, everybody at this level as a coach, you need 3 outlets, teach guys to pass fake and meet passes and a lot of fundamental things. But really it comes down to the players making the right reads and then trying to capitalize when you do. And I thought we did the first time we played them. I thought we broke it, pretty well. Didn't really turn the ball over against the press and handled it and scored on the back end some with threes and layups. And that'll be probably a little more challenging on the road, in a hostile environment. But we do have a lot of guys that seem to do well dribbling and passing. And hopefully our older experience will help with that again in terms of being able to manage crowd and all those kinds of things. But, we know they're going to come get us, and hopefully our guys are going to continue to handle it.
NC State loses to you guys. They lose to Notre Dame by 30, then turn around and beat Duke. Does this conference this year have the potential to be the Wild Wild West? Maybe everything is kind of
I think that happens a lot in college basketball. I think just the nature of our sport, quick turnarounds. You don't always play teams, at exactly the right time. talked a lot about sometimes it's not who you play, but when you play them. In our sport, because it isn't always the same. We don't always have 5 days to get ready and do our normal Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday routines. You really have to coach on the go. I mean, when something's going on, when there's an injury or when one or two of your guys who play a lot are in a bad place, when you play 5 or 6, 7 guys, that's 30% of your team. We're not 1 or 2 football guys. It's not quite as drastic. And so I just think that those are the kind of things that happen more now in basketball. And I also think there's more even talent in basketball than there is in football. I just think there are teams that are just physically so far superior that, to be honest with you, it's hard for them to win. You almost know who's going to win before the game starts. In basketball, I don't think that's the case. I think the 3-point line, and I think just the nature of different prep times and travel and all the different logistics that go into everything, it's hard to have your guys all the time playing at their best.
This 4-game stretch for Clemson is probably the most key for them in the entire season of really discerning where they fit in the ACC picture, because they're at NC State, home to ranked Miami, at North Carolina, and then home to ranked Notre Dame. And like I said yesterday, you get through that stretch 2-2 or 3-1, you're a player in the conference.
Well, like I said 2 days ago, very important stretch.
Did you say that 2 days ago?
Well, you said it yesterday. I said it the day before.
You said it 2 days ago, but we weren't on the air 2 days ago.
I said it to myself.
I said it on the air where it counts.
See, I said it to myself, and then I tweeted it.
Did you?
Out to everybody.
Did you really?
Thank you for that. It is 28-11. The Gamecocks have warmed up to 19%. And Alabama has cooled off to they were not going to continue making 88% of their shots. Okay.
That's not sustainable.
They're at 67% at this particular point in time. 28 to this was not what I was expecting.
What were you expecting?
I was expecting a low scoring. I expected the Gamecocks to go out there and put the clamp on them defensively, create some turnovers, and play better than this.
Would you say Hassani Gravett just threw one into the first row?
But I predict if you're watching on television that Coach Sarr is going to make a shot here pretty soon.
You think?
Yeah.
In not defense of what they're doing right now, but the team they played against, that Vanderbilt team is not any good.
Yeah.
Let's be real. So whether or not their good performance the other night is fool's gold or not will remain to be seen. We'll see that bear itself out over the course of time. But in my mind, they're still a work in progress.
By the way, it appears that many of the Alabama fans who went to the football game did not make it back for the basketball game. A lot of empty red seats in the arena. Not exactly what I was expecting.
Alabama's not really a basketball school.
Oh, you think not?
I don't think you can give away basketball tickets at Alabama. I really don't.
I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
You did not.
I did not want to do that.
You done not.
The USC baseball team has just picked up a commitment from a little while ago. Young man announcing it on Twitter. 2021 right-hander and shortstop Drake Vernado, Port Neches. Is that right? Texas? Is that how you pronounce it? Port Neches?
Spell it.
2 words, P-O-R-T, Neches, N-E-C-H-E-S.
Yeah, that's it.
Port Neches, Texas, commits to South Carolina. According to Stuff, he's the number 5 player in Texas, number 21 overall as a 15-year-old. How can you rank a 15-year-old player?
Oh, he's from Beaumont.
Nationally.
He's from Beaumont.
So he commits to South Carolina. And
that's not bad.
That's a big pickup for them. Now, here's the problem, of course. If he's that great now and continues to get better, I mean, he's going to be one of the top picks in the draft. You'll never see him. You'll never see him on campus. So you get all excited about a guy like this. You'll never see him on campus.
That's why when you said 2021, I had to laugh. I'm like, number one, that guy probably will change his mind 5 times.
Wade Boggs committed to South Carolina coming out of high school?
I did not know
Never made it to campus.
I understand that.
And there's been others like that.
Mookie Wilson was a former Gamecock, though.
Well, yes, he was, but he actually played for him.
Yeah.
I'm saying these hotshot high school guys, the first-round picks, they don't ever make it to campus, hardly ever. We'll be right back.
Alabama, the home of national championship football and apparently auto plants, right?
Welcome back into sport. Were you talking on the air?
I was.
Welcome back into Sports Talk.
I like the non sequiturs. Do you not like the non sequiturs?
The ones that don't make any sense to the audience?
Yes. It's conversation.
800-956-7266 is our phone number. A little bit more on Drake Varnado, 6'2", 155, shortstop right-hander. According to A Perfect Game, their scouting report on him is he's got room to grow, obviously, as he gets older.
He's like 15, right?
Primarily a shortstop, athletic, low fielding of the ball, nice job of getting on top of the ball with his throws, nice arm strength, et cetera, et cetera. Also pitched and shows potential as a two-way player and a right-handed hitter. And obviously does a nice job. Again, he's ranked highly by the baseball people, so a good pickup there for South Carolina if indeed he ever does show up on campus.
Nice one for Mark.
35-21, Alabama leading USC, 5:39 to go in the half. The Gamecocks have had a little bit of a run here. They hit their last 4 shots to sort of cut into this thing a little bit. They're up to 35%. Alabama still shooting 13 of 19 from the floor, 6 of 8 from the line. USC with 8 turnovers. Once again, and I imagine not many assists. That has been their thing. The Gamecocks with, more 2-1, 8 turnovers, 4 assists.
Well, you're down 2 touchdowns on Alabama. Just bring the true freshman in and have him lead you back. Bring in DeCarrion Joyner in. Oh, wait, we're talking about a different sport.
They got Minaya.
Yeah,
they got Minaya in there.
Much different.
Myers has 10 for the Gamecocks, so he continues to play well. 10 points in 11 minutes. Silva, only 1 point in 10 minutes. And he does have 1 personal foul.
Yeah, Cudd is in there right now. I don't know why Wes Myers didn't start the season as the point guard. I mean, it must have been something that Frank Martin liked about his Sonny Gravett, but I've yet to see justification as to why he was the starting point guard to start the year.
Let's go to Billy in Greenville. Next up here on Sports Talk. Welcome in, sir. How are you?
Fine. I guess this would be a nice
Billy, don't sound so excited to be with us here on Sports Talk. I mean, we give you this nice,
temper that excitement,
warm introduction, and all we get is a fine.
Okay.
Let's try this again. Billy, welcome into Sports Talk this evening. How are you?
I'm just doing great, man.
That's better.
More like it.
Okay. With, I guess this is a nice problem to have with several of your elite programs. But like you have Georgia, who has, who, from what I've seen, the quarterback and the way he played yesterday, he at least is going to be there 2 years, and you have Fields coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Clemson, you really have 3 very good quarterbacks coming in. Nice problem to have, and even potentially down at Alabama, even though 99.9% sure that freshman is going to be starting next year. Do those guys eventually leave?
You mean the older guys?
Or just, like with 3, I'm saying like at 3, you get at Clemson, you got those 3 good quarterbacks.
Yeah, somebody's going to be bolting.
Well, Bryant's only got 1 more year, so you take him out of the picture after next year, and then I think, Cooper and Johnson are both rising sophomores. Cooper is a rising redshirt sophomore, and Hunter is a rising true sophomore. I mean, this is the fallacy of the quarterback position, Billy. You have to recruit one every year, and there are going to be years where the guy you recruit as a true freshman has more upside and skill than the guy who could be the incumbent.
Well, what has happened, of course, you got guys with great talent, but now, guys are being trained year-round to play quarterback. They're playing in these 7-on-7 leagues. They're enrolling in school early. So they are much more ready to step in and play big games and play big moments like the kid did last night than they were, say, 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay. I mean, so
but to answer your question, I think it's safe to predict here from a Clemson standpoint that by the start of fall practice, Zarek Cooper or Hunter Johnson, one will be gone, if not both, because these are highly rated quarterbacks, and as much as they might love being at Clemson and being in that program, they want to play. And with Kelly Bryant established as the starter, and that the Hare is going to get every opportunity in winter workouts and spring practice to show his stuff. You can't work 4 quarterbacks fairly well in practice and in rotation, because then you get nothing done.
And to be clear, I want to make sure you're saying that not based off of anything newsworthy. We're basing this solely off of conventional wisdom and knowledge of the fact that, again, those guys came in highly recruited and, like you said, wanting to play. And here's the other part of this, which makes recruiting the position very, very difficult, is you need bodies. You need a guy who can run scout team. You need a guy who can be a backup. You need to go in. That's the problem South Carolina had this year. They had nobody behind Jake Bentley who could run in and confidently run that offense. So you need to basically build the quarterback position in stages. You need an heir apparent. You need somebody who can go in and basically run things in case of emergency. And you also need guys behind them to basically run your scout team for your defense.
Okay, you answered my question. Thanks.
Thank you. 35-27. USC on a 6-0 run has hit each of its last 7 shots. Now shooting 43%. Alabama still shooting 68%. Myers has a dozen. He's 4 of 6 from the floor. He's getting it done. He's the only Gamecock in double figures. Silva has 5. He's back on the court. He has 5, and Minaya has 5 as well.
It's the only position on the field, quarterback, where only one guy plays, and you have to recruit one every darn year.
Yeah, you really need one in every class. If you miss a class with a quarterback, or you miss on that quarterback in the class, if he's not a player,
set you back.
It can set you back,
guys,
for sure.
Guys get fired for that if you miss on a quarterback.
Some other college basketball. Indiana leading Penn State 44-36. St. John's is leading Georgetown, playing in the Garden 34-33. This is the from a coaching standpoint, Patrick Ewing against Chris Mullen. Yeah. How about that? Baylor leading West Virginia 26-20. Oklahoma over Texas Tech 24-21. Kentucky leading Texas A&M 30-29.
Sneaky matchup in the SEC there. I like that. A&M Kentucky.
Was it not fully advertised?
I'd say I'd say
Did
that
people not know they were playing? I mean, they snuck this game onto the schedule.
I think that most people right now have a little bit of football fatigue. I think a lot of people who are listening right now are probably wondering, man, when's the next football game? Kind of like me. And I feel that, while we wanted this offseason to come just because of what could come for both Clemson and South Carolina, I think we both really want to see what happens next year, because South Carolina is a school on the rise, and Clemson is a school that has all the motivation in the world to not only get back to that college football playoff, but I think we are really kind of licking our chops, just going back to our previous discussion, to see what happens with the quarterback position, because a lot of Clemson fans, and I'm sure the coaching staff as well, found themselves very unsettled with the way that offense performed in the game against Alabama.
Campbell 35, Presbyterian 32, Winthrop 26, Liberty 19, Charleston Southern 7, Radford 5. Still to come tonight, Syracuse at Virginia, Boston College at North Carolina in the ACC. And Ole Miss at Auburn, Tennessee at Vanderbilt in the SEC.
I'm curious where your head lies when it comes to how they handle this in the spring with Clemson, because you know that the most talented quarterback as far as upside goes is Trevor Lawrence. But
I know nothing of the such.
I think that with Kelly's situation,
I know the hype. He only played at Cartersville High School.
You owe it to the team to start Kelly in the spring, but I don't know if you owe it to the team to start him on day one against Furman.
Well, I think it's Kelly Bryant's job to lose. I think that Dabo Swinney has experience in this situation, having Cole Stout, Deshaun Watson situation, and he handled that smoothly. And I'm sure he'll do the same thing in this particular situation if the younger guy proves that he's capable of taking over.
These guys, they never sleep. Check them out on the web at SportsTalkSC.com. Now, more of Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Okay, over in Tuscaloosa, South Carolina battling back. Give them credit. Left them for dead. It's 40-33, a minute 24 to go. The Gamecocks have warmed up. They've hit 9 of their last 11.
Mm-hmm.
They're up to 44% and making a bit of a move to make this into a decent ball game now.
Yeah, Wesley Myers leading with 12 points. He just went down very hard going to the goal on a attempted basket. Looked to be okay once he got up off the floor, but we'll see whether or not he comes back in the game.
I was hoping that Bulldog Burt was going to call in tonight. We haven't heard from him. I had a special message for Bulldog Burt to just sort of remind him of what happened in last night's national championship game. Here that message is.
Oh, hell's down. They even shot the dog.
Play that one more time. That's kind of quick.
Oh, hell's down. They even shot the dog.
That's just so salty.
One more time.
Oh, hell's down. They even shot the dog.
I don't like people saying that they choked it away.
Can anybody name? I know I told you the movie, and anybody name the movie that clip came from? One more time, Brian, if you would.
Oh, hell's down. They even shot the dog.
I had to slow it down for some reason when I was pulling the audio. It kind of sped up a little bit. I had to do a little bit of work on that to make it sound right.
Do you think?
Oh, hell's bells! They even shot the dog.
Do you think Alabama won that game more? Or do you think Georgia choked it away?
Well, I think Alabama choked it by missing the field goal.
Yeah,
I mean that was a major choke. Georgia's guy kicked the field goal in overtime, and they even got the big sack. So no, Alabama just went out and took it.
That's what I think.
Yeah,
these people who are blaming Georgia, but I mean, still,
no,
idiots. I think that everyone tries to play revisionist history, and if you blow a 13-point lead in the second half.
How many idiots actually live on Twitter? I mean, there's millions.
I wasn't talking about Twitter. I was just talking about.
Well, that's where you see most of your stuff. It's just idiots.
I listen to people sometimes. I know you don't like to listen to other people.
All right, time to announce the winner of the Sports Talk Pick'em Challenge for the 2017 season. Do we have any kind of sound effects? We got like a drum roll or something? I'll wait a second for you, Brian. Get me a drum roll or a trumpet serenade or something that we can use here real quick. I want to do this right. And we'll also tell you the winner of the Corn Cup for 2017 between Governor Hodges and Attorney General Wilson. We'll do that here in just a moment. Waiting on our extraordinary producer, Brian Leonard, to get the sound effects ready.
Well,
Are we ready, Brian?
You could have prepped him.
I know. I like to do things off the cuff. Nope, that's not it. That wasn't it. Let's try it one more time. Well, that's a very weak drum. Yeah. Oh, it continues? Oh, okay. We'll take it down a little bit.
There's no
hard to talk over.
There's no rim at the end.
There's no rim. We don't have a blink dink. Oh, you can kill it. Save it for the last one. So, beginning from last place, this is through the 10 bowl games that we picked, all right? So, finishing last, getting the Golden Toilet Bowl from Sports Talk this year. Actually, we have a tie. One has a very good reason. The other one doesn't. Matt, the newsman, who did finish 6-4 in the bowl season to get to 36-44, he ties Kevin Cohen for last. Kevin went 4-6, 36-44. But see, Matt's getting married, so his interest in football has really been cut off to some degree.
Got it.
So congratulations, you get the Golden Toilet Bowl. Finishing next to last would be the bad boy of radio sports talk, Alan Smothers.
You could say he was truly bad.
5-5 in bowl season, 37-43 for the year. Congratulations to you, Alan. Nice job. Tying for next to last would be my two co-hosts here. The professor, who went 5-5 in the bowl season, and Willie P., who finished up strong at 3-7.
Took it on the chin in bowl season, man.
40-40 for the year. Congratulations to you.
Yeah.
Nice debut.
Yeah.
Finishing as the runner-up
Oh, it's tied for third. It's not a slouch, by the way. It's not next to next to next to last. It's tied for third.
Finishing as the runner-up, the Big Kahuna from down in Charleston, Bobby Harton, 4-6, 43-37 on the year, and your champion. Nice. Me. 4-6 in the bowl season, but 45-35 on the year. I think it's the second time in 3 years I claimed the championship.
You went 45-35. Don't
Congratulations to me.
Don't hurt yourself patting yourself on the back, Mr. 55%.
Is that what that is?
It's not very high.
Now to announce the winner of the coveted Corn Cup for 2017. Got a little something there?
56%. Sorry.
What happened to our drum roll? You lost it? Okay, I'll just move forward here.
Yeah.
The winner of the Corn Cup for 2017 is multiple-time Corn Cup champion Governor Jim Hodges. Went 5-5 in the bowl season. Attorney General Alan Wilson went 6-4. So Governor Hodges, 49-31. And Attorney General Wilson, 44-36. As a result of this, as a result of winning the Corn Cup, Governor Hodges promises that every customer of SCE&G will get $1,000
easy
in the mail.
Easy.
In the not-too-distant future.
Easy.
He's going to work for the company, Dominion Electric.
So the governor beat you and all of us. Is what you're telling me.
Actually, he did. The governor had the best overall. Good point. I didn't think about that. He has the best overall record at 49-31.
That just is sad for all of us.
But, it's a different, when he's only competing against one person, it's a different. I'm competing against a panel of 5 experts. And, it's a little more pressure from that standpoint. He doesn't have quite the pressure.
56% doesn't get you to the playoffs.
So there you go. There's your champions. I am a champion. You're a loser. Governor Hodges.
I'm not a loser.
You're a loser.
I am at 500.
To quote
the bastion of
the great Dale Earnhardt, if you ain't first, you're last.
I am the Chicago Bears of sports talk. I am 8-8.
They're at halftime. It's Alabama 40, USC 33, 64% shooting for Bama.
They can't sustain that, right?
And USC up to 43%. USC with 8 turnovers. So they finished the half protecting the basketball better, losing on the boards 14-12. And excuse me. And bench points way in favor of Bama, 21-8. And assists, USC only 6 for their 12 baskets to go with their 8 turnovers. Foul situation, nobody with more than 2, but they're the 2 big men, Kotsar and Silva, for USC, both with 2.
Yeah, Silva played just 11 of the 20 minutes, so that's something to kind of monitor going forward. Maybe they are, again, with the foul situation, worried about him and also wondering whether or not they can maybe save him for a little bit of the second half.
One thing that did not happen today, right? Today's January 9th, Will Muschamp did not name his 10th assistant coach, as he said he would on January 9th. So we'll have to wait and see if that comes out sometime tomorrow or later in the week. Maybe he's waiting for the coaches' convention to end in Charlotte. I don't know.
And I'm also wondering, we're less than a week away now for the early entry deadline. A lot of Clemson guys who are draft-eligible players still have not made their decisions. Guys like Mitch Hyatt, Christian Wilkins, Kendall Joseph. A lot of these guys.
I was surprised. I thought Wilkins would have already come forward and gone, to be quite honest with you.
Again, I think a lot of these guys are kind of peeved the way that result happened on January 1st. Maybe they want to go for another run of it.
Entirely possible. Entirely possible.
I wouldn't advise it. I'd go get your money, but that's just me.
Okay. That will do it. Thanks to Connor Shaw for being with us tonight. That interview is up on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. And we should have, if all goes well for you, post-game reaction from Frank Martin later on tonight on our website.
Provided that it makes its way from Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, we hope to. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Willie P. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.